Red-Headed Riding Hood, red for short. It's Tuesday, June 23rd. Um, so I'm swimming now on Monday and Wednesday and Friday. And so I swim like Wednesday before I go protest on Wednesday evening. So that looks good. And yeah, so today I cooked actually. I'm not doing any more of this cooking on YouTube, but I cook like once a week, and I mostly just cook for myself. Well, my son eats it too, but yeah, once a week sometimes, but a lot less often than I used to. I was cooking for 7 people, 6 days a week, 5 days a week at least. I was cooking for my Airbnb guests. I was cooking for, I would cook at Gladys's a lot. Um, I was cooking for my sister-in-law when she was stage 4 breast cancer when I went there in 2020, at the end of the year. December 2020 is when I arrived in California in my RV. And I stayed on my brother's property in Santa Clarita. It was this rental property. When I got there, his son, my nephew, lived there. And then my sister-in-law passed in January 9th, 2021. It was just a few days after January 6th happened. And so, yeah, as I said before, my brother's MAGA. So, yeah, I kind of felt sorry for him. And you know what I thought at that time, you guys? You know what I thought? I thought we thought that was the end. I thought that was the end of Donald Trump. I wish that was the end of Donald Trump. I thought January 6th was the end of Donald Trump. And like, we couldn't talk about it. I couldn't talk about it. My nephew would sometimes bring it up. He was like a pot stirrer, and I was just like, don't want to talk about that with you, like we don't agree. Well, he pretended like he was like, I don't know, kind of like this man I met recently on the corner who's like, I'm a centrist. I just want everybody to love each other. I'm like, hey, me too. But that means we shouldn't be locking up people and not giving them their due process, and we shouldn't be killing American citizens on the streets. And yeah, can't we all just get along? But anyways, but yeah, so that was an interesting time, and I was still kind of, I was evolving. My whole journey has been me evolving these last 10 years. It's 10 years now since I moved out of my ex's house, and we were still married. We separated in 2014. We lived in the house together for 2 years. Then I moved out of his house and into our smaller rental house. House that we rented out. So I have a lot of similarities to my brother. So my brother and I were both married 30 years, but his spouse passed away. I divorced, and we had a bigger house and a smaller house. So I got the smaller house in the divorce, and that's the one I sold in 2020 when I left Georgia. So yeah, so it's been quite the journey, and I've been changing and learning and growing and just learning a lot of stuff. I give a lot of narcissists in my life a lot of chances. And I often stay, like, I feel like I should have just left my brother's and well, I did. I left my brother's for a month and I went back to Gladys's to St. Louis because she needed me to watch her dog in her house for a while. And she knew I wanted, and she knew it was tense because of the political thing. But at the same time, I felt really bad for my brother because his candidate lost. He so loved Trump, and he had this stuff flashing on his computer that he wouldn't like even take down. It was offensive. Some of the stuff he had on his computer was offensive. It's like, oh, we dodged a bullet because Hillary's so ugly and Melania's so, I'm like, really? That's like what you're focusing on here? That, oh, we couldn't have not attract. I'll tell you something. I I tell you what, I think Hillary's beautiful compared to the piece of, I'm sorry, he's ugly, grotesque, disgusting inside and out. Yeah, I really don't like him, but I pray for him every day. Oh my gosh, I have to remind myself though. Sometimes I like, oh, I forget to pray for him today. So, yeah, I try to remember to do that. I want him to be held accountable. I really don't want him to die in office. People think he's going to die soon because he's in such bad shape. But, we shall see. But anyways, so what was I saying? Oh, I cooked a lot for Joyce when I went there, and she was so thin, and she was like, you can't leave until I gain 10 pounds, and she was like so up. She really had a really positive attitude. I think that's why she survived so long, because it was like 30, it was like their whole marriage that she got the breast cancer, I think 91, and they got married in 1990. So yeah, so off and on she had a couple of remissions, and my niece got a hibiscus flower for each of her mom's battles with cancer. So she has 4. I think she got another one too, and it's right here, like on her heart. I don't know. I need to ask her next time I talk to her how many hibiscus flowers do you have? But anyways, that was funny because her mom didn't like tattoos. She borrowed a long sleeve shirt from me. I was just like, she's like, oh, I forgot to bring a long sleeve shirt because her mom didn't like her tattoos. But whatever. She was conservative like my brother. So, anyways, that's a little bit about that. That was my maiden voyage in my RV was, I went from St. Louis to Denver to see my son at Thanksgiving, the son that lives with me now, my younger son. Then I went to see Jody, my niece, and she was in Flagstaff. And I remember we had a nice campfire. She wanted to be careful about COVID, and I got tested for COVID. I went to a drive-through thing before I went to see Joyce because I, had to make sure that I didn't have it, wasn't carrying it, wasn't bringing it to her because she was in that weakened state with the cancer. And so yeah, she passed a few days. And so I went for a month back to St. Louis from February, like mid-February to mid-March. And then I came back, and by the time it was like April, mid-April is when my brother basically kicked me off his property. And then I found out he was sleeping with his tenant. It's just like, okay, whatever. But yeah, so I often stay too long. That's what I realized my pattern was with the with the narcissist and the situations. The thing with Gladys in St. Louis is she had gotten another tenant or another roommate, and he was, oh gosh, a nightmare. The roommate from hell. He went and flushed his shit down the toilet. Oh my God. So I started getting, it was driving Gladys crazy because she really wanted him to stay because, you know, he was paying, his mother was paying his rent, actually. But anyways, and he was trying to get her to lower it. It was just a mess. But anyways, it takes me a while to get all my stuff together. So I had a lot less stuff when I was in St. Louis to leave St. Louis and go to Denver, but yeah, that took me a little while too because I decided to sell. It was like kind of the same sort of thing. Like when I left Georgia, I was gonna buy my RV in Georgia first, but instead I went up to St. Louis and bought the RV there. And then I was trying to decide if I should go to Denver and sell the RV or if I should sell it in Illinois. I was in Belleville, Illinois, on the Belleville side of St. Louis, the Illinois side. And so I was kind of deciding the same things, like, should I sell my RV here, sell my RV in Denver? And I decided to sell it. I sold it there. I was like, let me just try. And I sold it to Gary the dairy farmer in Missouri. It's funny, I brought it because we were right on the Missouri, St. Louis is right on the Missouri-Illinois state line, right? So I bought it in Illinois, but when I sold it to Gary, the retired dairy farmer. Gary, the retired dairy farmer in Missouri. And that's when I got together with this guy I already had met, Mario. he helped me deliver the RV to Missouri. And then he sold me his clunker of a van, and then I was just like, I don't want this van. This van's a hunk of junk. I bought this van from Mario, and I started seeing Mario for a short amount of time, and oh God, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. No. Yeah, it was kind of a disaster. And so that's... I've been a celibate ever since Mario. Thank you. You made me decide to be celibate, Mario. Thank you very much. No, but it was a cheap van, but I didn't even ask for him the money back, and I just, for a short amount of time. So like, Gladys and I had a falling out because of this roommate, and so I had to leave. And for a short amount of time, everything I owned, all the stuff I saved again, I got rid of stuff again, because the car, I didn't even know how I was going to get to Denver after I sold my RV. And then I bought the van from Mario, and then I'm like, this is a hunk of junk. I need to get something else. And I was waiting on money from my dad, who had passed in 2020, and this was 2022, and still hadn't gotten it. And thankfully I was able to get a loan and get my RAV4, which I love. I love my car, you guys. I love my car, and I named her Snow White because I was going to Denver. So because she's white. And So, yeah, I ended up getting my RAV4, and I'm so glad I did. I love my car. I'm glad I didn't keep Odessi. I named it the. It was like in 2000. It was, oh gosh, it was a hundred. I was gonna have so much, such a problem with that. I'm like, how am I gonna? This thing is just not, I'm like, it's not even gonna. It wasn't even running when I bought it from him. He did get it running. I'll give him credit for that. He's a mechanic. But anyways, but that was a just a disaster. No, it was I don't know. It was meant to be for a time, I guess. He helped me out. So my stuff was in storage. Everything I owned was in Mario's storage, and then I'm like, oh crap, I don't really trust this guy. I need to get my stuff out of his storage. So I got my stuff out of his storage, and then I bought my car at the. I bought my car in St. Louis. It was at a Ford dealership. It was they had this used Toyota at the Ford dealership. And so, yeah, and it's 4 years. I've had my car 4 years now. It's a 2020. I bought it in 2022, and I've had it 4 years now. Because that was June. That was early June 2022 when I went to Denver. And then I came here in February 25th, 2025. So that's my story. Oh my goodness, 16 minutes. That's horribly too long. No. Someday I might edit these. Maybe. We'll see. Anyways, I'll let you go now. That's my talk for tonight. Don't say that no one cares for you, because I do, and God does too. Don't forget to pray for Red, because Red is praying for you. Bye.